The Ice Crown. While visiting a distant kingdom, I attended a national festival and saw the king wearing a crown unlike any I had ever seen. It was crafted from shimmering white gold and platinum, with an array of diamond settings that glistened like droplets of ice. Its design was less like a traditional crown and more a frozen halo, each twist and turn of its structure reminiscent of windswept locks entwined with frost. Its form splayed outwards in an elegant, expansive manner, unlike most traditional, upright, constrained crown designs. The overall effect was both regal and ethereal, beautiful and wild, capturing the essence of a frost-laden landscape under the soft glow of moonlight. I asked my local friend and guide about the unusual and distinctive design. The ice crown, he explained, is not just a symbol of royalty, but of profound valor and humanity. It memorializes an act of such courage and compassion that the people have commemorated it for generations. He told me this legend of the ice crown. Many centuries ago, when the winter storms lasted for months at a time, a ship ran aground on one of the small barrier islands just off the coast of the kingdom. The shipwreck happened only days before the coronation of a new king, and so the royal court was in the middle of a feast when the news arrived. There were 3 princes. The eldest, who was to be crowned king within a week, ordered that supplies be mustered immediately, and that he would personally lead the rescue team. By the time they arrived at the shoreline, the survivors had been stranded on the island for 3 days, suffering in the relentless winter storm. The rescuers set out their supplies and built fires in the blizzard, and looked to their king-to-be. But the eldest prince could see no way to cross the shallow strait in the tempest. The storm made the water too rough for a small boat, and it was far too shallow to hold a large ship that could withstand the storm. The prince knew that the survivors, those tiny shadows in the distance, would die before the storm abated. "We did all that we could do. We brought supplies and built fires, but we cannot cross over the waters. We must accept this tragedy," he said. The second prince was yet determined and began directing the rescue team to fix ropes and logs together to form a floating bridge. "We may get wet in the process, but if we cannot reach them by boat, we will surely reach them by bridge. Even if it takes longer than a boat would, we will at least rescue some of them." However, the storm mocked the effort and tore the bridge to pieces. 3 times the second prince tried to build a pontoon connection to the island, and 3 times the storm ripped it apart and scattered the pieces. The second prince conceded defeat and echoed his brother's words, "We must accept this tragedy." The third prince had watched his brothers. He had helped load the supplies when his oldest brother called for a rescue team. He had helped in each attempt to lash the logs together when his second brother had tried to build a path for rescue. He began to wrap himself in sealskins and tied them tightly with waxed cords. "Stoke up the fires," he quietly instructed, before turning and walking into the icy waves. The rescuers watched from the shore as the youngest prince waded through the stormy ice waters of the tempest-tossed strait to reach the island. One by one, the young prince carried the cold, terrified survivors to shore on his back, bringing them safely to the warmth of the fires and the comfort of the supplies. He made trip after trip without stopping, bringing each terrified survivor back to safety from the brink of doom. With each trip, the spray of the ocean froze more and more around his hair, and the snow collected on the accumulating ice around his head. By the time the sun rose, all of the survivors were safely huddled around roaring bonfires on the shore. But the youngest prince had spent too many hours in the icy water, and no matter how close he sat to the fires, warmth would not return to him. He died that very day, and the rescuers and survivors brought his body back to the capital. At the funeral, the eldest prince declared that there would be no coronation until a new crown was made to honor the sacrifice of the youngest prince. The finest artisans in the kingdom worked all winter, but when spring came, the new crown was ready. At the coronation, the new king declared that the ice crown should always be a symbol of the efforts and sacrifices that a ruler must be willing to make for the people of the kingdom. Even though the youngest prince would never become king, his example would rule the throne forever.